with a lot of car manufacturers jumping on the hybrid bandwagon, it's really refreshing to see one that's taken a completely different approach. Step in Mazda with their SkyActiv systems. So SkyActiv is Mazda's way of completely rethinking the fuel efficiency kind of trend, where they look at existing technologies like gasoline and diesel engines and they try to optimize them as best as possible.
Unlike many fuel efficiency alternatives on offer today, Mazda hopes to keep that fun to drive factor. The hope is that with SkyActiv they accomplish this by making significant changes to the engine, the transmission, the chassis, and even the body of their SkyActiv vehicles. When I drove the Mazda CX-5 last year, I thought it was an excellent car. Fun to drive, great looking, and of course pretty fuel efficient considering I drove it like it was stolen. So what am I doing here with the Mazda 3 Sport SkyActiv, which isn't a full SkyActiv vehicle but only features a SkyActiv engine and transmission? I'm here to see if Mazda has been able to pull this car off, even without the body and chassis changes. Is this still fun to drive, and is there a price to pay for this fuel efficiency? Since there's no SkyActiv body or chassis on this car, I'm only going to talk about the engine and transmission. The idea with this gasoline SkyActiv engine is to increase the engine's compression ratio, known to boost low-end torque while increasing fuel efficiency. The issue with doing this is that the chance of knocking or mistimed combustion increases with this compression ratio. That is the reason why engines with higher compression ratios typically demand higher octane gas and or utilize sensors to prevent this knocking from occurring. After investigating the causes of knocking, Mazda engineers realized that this condition was dependent on the temperature of the air-fuel mixture at the point of ignition, and thus they devised methods to keep this temperature as low as possible. They accomplished this via 3 methods. 1. A 4-to-1 exhaust manifold helped to reduce the amount of hot residual gases in the cylinders. 2. Multi-hole injectors produced a more even combustion, lowering the combustion temperature. 3. The piston cavity was redesigned to accelerate the combustion, thus minimizing the time the hot gas spends in the cylinder before it is exhausted out of the engine. The genius part of these advances is that they have now raised the compression ratio to a comically high 13:1 while accepting regular 87 gasoline. They have also raised the engine's power and efficiency by 15%. But does it work in real life?
So I got the SkyActiv 3 here, which has the modified SkyActiv system. So it's not full SkyActiv, it doesn't have the body and chassis kind of rethink that they have on the CX-5. And the engine does away without the 4-to-1 exhaust system, which allows them to run at higher compression ratios. So normally it's 13:1 and this one's 12:1, which is still really high, and that's running on normal 87 octane gasoline, which is really good. So around town, the EPA rating states
7.7
liters per 100 kilometers, and on the highway
5.0.
I haven't actually driven it much on the highway, but I can tell you around town I'm averaging around 8. Part of the reason for this, I think, is because between idle and around 2,500 RPM, there's a bit of a hesitation in the engine's map. So you don't get all of that torque and power that they talk about, which was sort of the whole idea of increasing the compression ratio. But above 2,500, the engine is quite smooth. It does rev quite nicely, so that's good. Because there is that sort of hesitation in the low end, you feel inclined, especially with the manual, to rev the engine a little bit more, which is not as good for fuel economy.
With their SkyActiv transmission, which is being termed SkyActiv Drive by Mazda, Mazda's goal was to give all the benefits of the existing automatic technologies out there without any of the downsides. The responsive feel of a direct shift gearbox, the smoothness of a conventional torque converter automatic, and the fuel efficiency of a continuously variable transmission. They accomplished this by upping the amount of time the torque converter is locked up, designed to give that direct drive feeling. In order to overcome any harshness from this increased lockup, Mazda engineers designed a full lockup clutch, which is meant to absorb some of the harshness from the increased lockup range. The increased lockup not only gives better response and driving feel, but it improves fuel efficiency as well, not having the wasted energy of a normal slush-o-matic. Last year when I drove the CX-5, I thought the SkyActiv automatic was fantastic, probably the only time I've ever said that about an automatic. These innovations have improved the fuel efficiency by 4 to 7%. Now I don't have this automatic on the Mazda 3 today, but I do have the manual. So how is that?
Now Mazda says that by fiddling around with the bushings and the bearings inside the manual transmission, they've been able to sort of simulate the shift on a Mazda Miata, which is a good thing. And they say that they've been able to improve the overall efficiency of the car by 1%. 1%. Now that doesn't sound like a lot, but I guess in the grand scheme of things, if you take, 1% here and 1% there, pretty soon you got 2%. Kind of sounds like a Russell Peters joke of some sort. Manual shifter is nice. You can just flick it in action with your wrist. You don't really need to jab it in place. It's really quite, it's very precise. Coming up to a corner. See how the turn-in's pretty sharp. Pretty good body control. The car feels good. The brakes are good, but they're a little bit over servoed. So they're a little bit touchy, a little bit grabby. There's not enough progression. The pedal positions are good, but for something, and I know this isn't a sports car, but for a car that's supposed to be sportier or has the word sport in it and has 3 pedals down at the bottom, I would expect the pedals to be in a better position for heel towing, and the brake and throttle positions just seem a little bit too offset for my liking. Like I would prefer if they were closer together. There's a lot of sort of cheap plastics inside which don't feel quite as good. These price is around $20,000, and this particular car has a couple of extras fitted to it. So it's got the leather seats, and it's got the sunroof, and it's got like the Bose stereo system and all this other stuff, and the dual climate control, which is a nice feature to have if you, say, travel around with a female. They're always going to be cold. All the cars come standard with a lot of features, like they all have Bluetooth, they all have heated seats, they all come with, like all this iPod, iPhone connectivity stuff. It's got 2 cigarette lighter ports. It's got a USB port, auxiliary port. So you get a lot of value for the money. So these are a few other things that I couldn't really categorize into anything. The first thing is the hatch closure is a little finicky. In order to lock the trunk, you need to press a different button from the one you use to open it. Also, the locking mechanism doesn't catch positively, so you're really not sure if it's locked or not. This can be a bit frustrating if you're in a bit of a hurry. The user interface is a little busy. There are buttons on the center console and 2 separate screens to display information to you. Both of them are small and hard to read. And the second one, you actually need to press a button to scroll through the text, which is not ideal. The interior lights look pretty cool though. The keyless entry system liked to play tricks on me. Getting in and out is easy if you have the key in your pocket, but if you leave it in the car, you won't be able to open the other doors. Also, if you're 6 feet tall and over, you will need to shift your seats forward in order to fold the rear seats down. Once they are down though, there is a good amount of room in the back, able to swallow our video equipment during the shoot. There are a lot of trim pieces in the Mazda 3 that are not glued down. Some people would call this cheap, but I'm going to say that Mazda was looking forward when doing this and allowing people to utilize these trim pieces in as many ways as your imagination can dream up.
What would I do with this? I don't know.
Wash your dishes.
Wash it. You need to scrub your dishes at home. You're running out of a pad. You got this thing right here. You just clean her up. Just all sorts of ingenious things that Mazda comes up with. The dog lapping dish. Also holds your phone. You could also go to like a Halloween party and pretend to be Morpheus. Yep. Red pill or blue pill?
While I wouldn't say that the SkyActiv system I tested here was perfect,
I can definitely see the potential for this technology. I applaud Mazda for bucking the hybrid trend and being pioneers in their own right, making it cars that are not only fuel efficient, but fun to drive as well. Something I have yet to see a hybrid or electric car claim. As a car enthusiast, I want cars to be fun to drive, and judging by the smile on this car's face, this is just the start for Mazda. I can't wait to drive the next SkyActiv car. Well done.
I mean, also go to like a Halloween party, pretend to be Morpheus. Yep. Red pill or blue pill?